As we all know, baseball cards are just made of paper. It's easy for them to bend or crease, and their value is directly related to the condition of the card. And especially for older cards, it's hard for them to be in a more PSA 10 type of condition. However, it's also true that how well the card is made, printed, and centered, which is completely out of our control, it just shows up fresh in a pack off center, also affects its value. And that's what we're going to talk about here on why some of the rarest cards from the 1980s are due to really difficult print runs. When you look at some typical cards from this decade, we'll look at the Topps traded Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. When they're graded, about 16% of the cards submitted over tens of thousands of cards, 16% of them will get a PSA 10. And then here's another example. When you look at this 1989 score, Randy Johnson, 40% of the thousands of cards submitted to PSA get a PSA 10. And so this just goes to, again, I did a video on the history of score. At this point in time, they were making some really good cards on really good card stock with really good processes to make sure that they have really good centering. So 40% is crazy for this decade. But this video is going to focus on 12 rare cards, 8 extra rare, 3 ultra rare, and 2 unicorns from this decade. And we'll get to cards that graded a PSA 10 less than 1% of the time of all the cards that have been submitted. So let's get to the 25 rarest baseball cards from the 1980s. Coming in at number 25, it's the 87 Fleer Update Mark McGwire rookie card. Out of almost 9,000 graded, only 484 received a PSA 10, giving it only 5% chance of getting a PSA 10, so we'd consider this card rare. Interestingly enough, you can buy these for only about $50 today, so this is one of the cheapest cards on this list. If you're looking for kind of a fun standout card, this might be one for you. Number 24 is the 1983 Donruss Ryan Sandberg card. With over 7,000 grade, only 374 received a PSA 10, so only 5.26 of these got a 10. That's why they're going for about $450 a piece here. It's a great rare card. Number 23 is the 1985 Donruss Kirby Puckett card. With over 7,000 graded, only 379 have come back of a PSA 10. That's just 5.18%. And a PSA 10 right now is selling for about $370. Now this is one of my favorite cards from this decade, the 1982 Donruss Cal Ripken Jr. card. It's kind of a classic, iconic card. With over 15,000 graded, only 765 have been a PSA 10 at a 4.86% rate. So that's why this is a rare card, coming in at $1,000 for a PSA 10. Number 21 is the 1989 Donruss Ken Griffey Jr. card. Ken Griffey's cards are among, especially his rookie cards, are among the most graded of all time. So you can see 48,000 of these have been graded. Only 2,000 have been PSA 10, so 4.5% of them coming in at 10, making this a rare card worth $300. Number 20 of the rarest cards from the 1980s is the 1987 Fleer Barry Bonds card. With over 29,000 graded, only 1,291 have come back at a PSA 10, a 4.33% rate, making this rare and valued at $235 today. Now this is a card from my childhood. The 1984 Topps Don Mattingly. It was an iconic card at the time. With over 24,000 graded, only 963, so let's say 1,000 are PSA 10. That's getting a 4% rate, making this PSA 10 a rare card, which is why it fetches $1,000. This card is funny because 1989 Upper Deck printed a lot of Ken Griffey Jr. cards, so the card itself is not that rare. However, you can see the condition of a PSA 10 is very rare at 3.7%, so only 4,000 PSA 10s are out there. In part, there was some centering issues. The gold foil on the back, the hologram foil on the back can also be placed improperly or rotated. And so a PSA 10 of this one still fetches $2,700 today. Number 17, the rarest cards. I love this 1982 Topps Nolan Ryan card. With over 6,000 graded, only 222 are PSA 10s at a 3.62% rate, making this card, which the fun part about this is it's not a rookie card. It's worth $1,150. This is a card you may have in your collection somewhere, but it's hard to get it to a PSA 10, in part because of how the cards were made at the time. Number 16 is the 83 Topps Ryan Sandberg with over 21,000 graded, only 796 are PSA 10, so 3.62% of the time. This one comes in a whopping $1,200 value as well. I love this card. I'm sure I have a couple, but not in the PSA 10. Number 15 Rarest Cards is the 1985 Topps Kirby Puckett card. And before I talk about this, I think Kirby Puckett may be one of the most undervalued baseball players of all time. Dude could hit. I think Minnesota was probably viewed as a small market at the time, and so maybe he didn't get enough national attention. But to me, especially for that generation, Kirby Puckett was one of the most fun players to watch. So over 16,000 of these graded, only 547 are PSA 10s, so 3.36% rate, and that's why a PSA 10 of this card will value at $700. Number 14th Rarest Card from the 1980s is this 1981 Topps Tim Raines rookie card. It's the Expos Futures card. With over 7,000 graded, only 180 of them are PSA 10s. We were talking about 2.5% chance that the cards are going to be graded a PSA 10. That's why it fetches $1,300. This ends the rare section, and now we're going to look at the extra rare cards. First one we're going to look at is the 1984 donruss Don Mattingly rookie card. I love this card. It is iconic. It's such a good looking card. Its clean design reminds me a little bit of the 1975 SSPC set that I did a video on a little bit ago. With over 13,000 graded, only 340 PSA 10s. That comes in at 2.5%, making it extra rare, and a perfect PSA 10 on this will fetch you about $3,500 today. Next in the extra rare category is this 1982 Topps Traded Cal Ripken Jr. card. With over 17,000 graded, there's only 421 PSA 10s. That's a 2.43% chance of getting a 10, making this one worth $6,000 if you have this in gem mint condition. Number 11th on the extra rare is the 1985 Fleer Roger Clemens card. With almost 8,000 graded, only 187 have achieved a PSA 10, so only 2.38% of the cards submitted have gotten this high grade. This gem mint will fetch you about $1,200. It's a simple card, but I kind of remember this as a kid and I liked it. Next is the 1982 Fleer Cal Ripken Jr. card. With over 14,000 graded, only 320 are PSA 10, so only a 2.25% chance that if you submit a card, you get a PSA 10. That's why it's worth $3,400. I actually don't remember seeing this card when I was a kid, and only really through this research have I run into the 82 Fleer as much. Now, this is deep in my wheelhouse as a kid. I have this card. I don't think I have it graded. I'll tell you a funny story about the next one. But this is the 1983 Topps Tony Gwynn rookie card with 33,000 graded, 741 PSA 10s, but only 2.24% of the cards submitted received that grade, making a PSA 10 very rare, actually extra rare in this case, and worth $3,600. Now, back to back from the 83 Topps is also this Topps Wade Boggs rookie card. This is probably the first quote-unquote premium or expensive card I ever bought when I was a kid. I bought it for $20. I remember stressing over it, and I love this card. At the time, I didn't understand centering as much, so that darn card shop dealer sold me a card that's pretty off-center. It'll never get close to a 10, even if I graded it. But with almost 20,000 of these graded, there's only 413 PSA 10s, making Wade Boggs' card one of the more rare cards at only 2% chance of getting a PSA 10, but only $1,900, so almost half of what the Tony Gwynn card was getting. So let's show Wade Boggs a little more love. The next extra rare card is the 1982 Topps Future Stars from the Orioles, which is the Cal Ripken Jr. rookie card. With over 4,000 graded, 561 of them are PSA 10s, coming in at only 1.37% of all cards submitted gain a PSA 10. So you know it was tough to make good cards back then, and this one is worth $2,000. The last of our extra rare cards is this 1985 Topps Roger Clemens. With over 34,000 graded, only 381 of them are PSA 10s. That's just over 1% chance of getting a PSA 10, making this card worth $1,000. And that's our last extra rare card, as we now move into the ultra rare cards. Again, I love these, and Nolan Ryan seems to be hot on this list because this is a very rare, very valuable PSA 10 card that is not a rookie card. This is the 1981 Topps Nolan Ryan with over 6,000 graded. Only 43 have come back as a PSA 10, making this an ultra rare card that's less than 1% gain a PSA 10, and that's why this card is worth $7,300 in gem mint condition. Next on the list is the 1980 Topps Nolan Ryan card. With over 7,500 grade, only 38 are PSA 10s. So this card is worth $9,300 at about 0.5% of them graded, coming back at a PSA 10. Next is this 1985 Topps Mark McGwire card from the USA baseball team, the Olympic team. With over 60,000 graded, only 307 are PSA 10s, coming in at, again, about 0.5% chance of getting a PSA 10 when you send it in to be graded, making this card worth $3,400, and this will also end the ultra rare section of this video. Next is the Unicorn Rare Cards. And actually, this is the card that made me make this video. When I found out that the 1980 Topps Rickey Henderson rookie card has only 26 PSA 10 cards in existence, even though 40,000 have been submitted, this is a true unicorn card. That's why this rookie card for Rickey Henderson is worth $144,000, because only 0.06% of the cards submitted are getting a PSA 10. This card is amazing. Rickey Henderson, obviously the best stolen base man in the game, but I wouldn't have put his cards at such a high value other than just the fact that it's so hard to find a gem mint 10 of this specific card. And last but not least, of the rarest cards is the 1988 Topps Glossy Mark McGwire. Until I did this research, I didn't know that there were any cards in this decade more rare than the Rickey Henderson, but there are only 3 PSA 10s, again making it a unicorn card at 0.05% chance of being a graded PSA 10. But the last estimate for this card is $300, but it hasn't sold since I think 2018, 2019. So maybe it could go up, but I feel like this is one of those sleeper cards that if someone was selling it, they may not know just how rare this card is. If you were looking for Tiffany cards, saying that they're more rare, they actually were printed on better cardstock and printed with more care, in my opinion, and had a higher rate of getting a PSA 10. So while they're definitely more limited in total, the PSA 10 Tiffany's are not as rare as some of the cards that we just went through. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye.